These BBLs killing y'all.
It's dangerous cosmetic surgery.
Mom has died after complications from a tummy tuck.
26-year-old mother died following a popular cosmetic procedure.
Another surgery center killing 2 more people this week.
Unfortunately, let me also introduce you to Adley Silva.
You never think it's gonna be you.
The Brazilian butt lift, or BBL, has become one of the most sought-after cosmetic procedures in the world. Social media is flooded with dramatic before and afters and stunning transformations. But behind the viral results lies a side that isn't talked about nearly enough. Before we get into today's video, if you're new here, welcome to The Internet Witness. This is the channel where we bring you the latest trending topics, influencer drama, beauty controversies, and the biggest stories making waves across social media. If you enjoy staying up to date with what's happening online, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and share this video with your family and friends, as you might be saving someone. Now today we're looking at the complications, the risks, and the real stories of people who have suffered life-changing consequences and in some cases tragically lost their lives. This video isn't here to shame anyone for choosing cosmetic surgery. It's here to encourage informed decisions by exploring the reality behind one of the world's most controversial procedures. So let's get into it.
I was going through another hard time because I felt bad for getting my body done because like I'm really close to my mom. I felt like I was kind of like taking away what my mom gave me, and I didn't look at it like that until after the surgery. And I remember that there was just a lot on me. There was just a lot. Me sharing it with everybody and having like, it felt like the whole world against me. And then seeing a big change in my body. Imagine you go under 4 hours of surgery and then you wake up not looking like yourself anymore. And then I had people just like telling me in the comments like, oh my God, you fucked yourself up. Oh my God, you ruined yourself. Oh my God, why would you do that? Just so much. And yeah, I sat there and I read like damn near every comment. And I just sat there and I just was like crying. And I wasn't like, when people were sitting there and commenting about my body, I was legit a day post-op.
For 2 months, she'll barely move, conserving all her energy.
Guys, I'm getting the massages right now, and honestly, it's not as painful as I thought. It just feels sore. I thought it was going to be so painful because of Natalie Cueva's video, but it just like feels like a regular massage. I feel like you're like when you're sore and you massage over it, that's what it feels like. But
I'm in Turkey and I just got a BBL done, a breast lift and implants, a tummy tuck, and lipo to all areas of my body. And I'm telling you that this is the most excruciating pain I've ever been through. I've had 3 bags of morphine and I can still feel absolutely everything.
Let me de-influence you on getting a BBL, lipo, all of that. So it's been this is day 3, and I'm not saying this because I'm unhappy with my results. I think my body is tea. It looks amazing, but it is not worth it, you guys. Like the amount of pain that you are going to go through and the amount of pain that you experience getting out of surgery, it's like in 1,000 out of 10. Like, and I've had lipo in the past, so I had also lipo here. I need to wear my chin thing, but it was giving me a migraine. So I had lipo for the first time around 7 years ago, and I wanted to do it again now because I had the extra fat, and this time I wanted to do a transfer. After I had my baby and stuff, I feel like I liked the size of my butt, but I kind of wanted to do like a little bit of a reshaping, a little bit of like filling in my hips and stuff like that. And yeah, no, it's just not worth it. It is just not worth it. The pain is just way too much. The uncomfortableness, the inconvenience of everything, the faja, the boards, the foams, the massages, the pain, the no sleep. Like, girl, at that point, just go to the gym. Like, just go to the gym. I don't think it's worth it at all. Like, I'm happy that, you know, I have my results and stuff, but I would not do this again. Not do this again. It's so crazy to me that how popular of a procedure this is, considering that it's like super dangerous, and what you experience after, it's like no joke. It is no joke. And I know it's like, who am I to talk, because I did it, but I feel like I did not remember it being like this. That was worse than childbirth. Like, seriously, the pain, worse than childbirth. When I woke up, I felt like I had been stabbed like 20 times all over my body. Everything burned. The anesthesia, I felt like nausea. It was just, I was like coherent and not coherent at the same time. It was just a nightmare.
Okay, so the thing about it, you're gonna be in a lot of pain. This isn't a joke. I know some people on this app say, you know, pain was like a 2. No, the pain was like 100 for me for the first 2 days. It was terrible. I could not get out of bed. I couldn't even get into the car. Basically, they just throw you into, you know, a wheelchair and then just send you on your way. And you don't even know what to do or how to take care of yourself. So what you're going to need to do is have somebody that's a nurse, so they can help you get into bed and get out of bed and get to the bathroom and help you put on your faja, because it's going to hurt really bad. You need that help. They're going to teach you how to clean your incisions and how to take a shower, you know, remove your boards, your foams, and all that stuff. They're going to help you with that, and you need that help. It's really not a joke. Yes, you could have somebody there who could help you, but you're going to be in serious pain. Some people don't get the drains, so you're going to be bleeding everywhere. It's not a fun time. You're really going to need to be with somebody who could really help.
This is day 10 after my tummy talk. BBL and poof toto. I'm eating toast bread and I'm drinking tea. Guys, you not gonna know how to sleep. You not gonna know how to poo. You not gonna know where to poo body. You know whether you use your back, you use your knee, you use your belly. Sleep will be like a living here. You know when they say karma will hit you hard, it be like say karma. My karma came early. Me baby say see my house. I stay in a 3-bedroom flat. 1 half 7 by 7 bed. 1 half 6 by 7. 2 half 6 by 7 bed. That's why I love big bed. I love my bed big, soft. I dey spend money to buy foam. I know they live choco. If I don't get money, I know they sleep. Just imagine me not sleeping in a 2 by 2 bed. And I don't know where to put body. Nowhere to put body. Nowhere to put body. If I put here, it go sight me. If I put here, it go sight me. Sleep run away from me. I know they know where I don't tire. One moment I won't run. The next moment I won't sleep. If I won't sleep, I'll be me a knee down. I'll be me a stand. I'll be me a bear. I'll be me a... The restlessness. Unable to sleep. Everything don't... Jesus, my fast. The only thing where they keep me going is food. Not food. Today my breakfast is bread and butter, squash fried egg, and tea. So I don't tire. You see, after your surgery, you can go home after 3-4 days, depending on your home. But you know, I still in Lagos. You understand? So I just want to be safe. You know, tummy talk is prone to infection like that. I just want to be safe. So that's why I'm staying back. It's very expensive to stay back. If you don't have the budget, you can go. But if you have a budget, you can stay back. I just want the stitches to heal, like make that place all close before I go back to my James and Jonas. The only thing keep me going is food. The only thing keep me going every day is I'm waiting the next food that the chef will bring. If not, don't give up or sleep and not feel the sleep. No, my young go to sit down. No, my new. No, let 2 position I get. This sitting down and lying down my back. The light put all the heat now, so that part they scratch me, the pain.
Just because I wasn't afraid to get on here and say my BBL smelled like dumpster juice and y'all don't make me the villain.
This is the ongoing fascinating saga of a woman whose BBL stank.
So in part 1, I was telling y'all how my sit-down air was stinking real bad. And it got to the point to where I had to carry around a bottle of air freshener or a bottle of perfume.
So how could a BBL cause somebody's sit-down air to stink really badly? Well, there are a number of possible causes. Obviously, cleanliness and hygiene may have something to do with it, especially if you've had a BBL and things aren't feeling the same down there. But it also could be due to medical conditions. Let's hear a little bit more from her.
When I say that BBL really ruined my life, I even lost my boyfriend behind it. He was telling me the whole time, like, you're stinking real bad down there and I can't stomach it. It was the truth. It got to the point to where when I would get my laundry out of the dryer, it would still smell like that rat-eating flesh.
Now, if you've ever worked in healthcare, you know that the thing that smells the absolute worst, worse than anything, is rotten flesh. This is worse than the smell of somebody just not cleaning back there, and that's how she's describing this. But unfortunately, the people who watched her video did not like her explanation, and see what happened afterwards.
I have a lot of women angry with me. They are reporting me. They're commenting nasty things.
Although some people may have a hard time cleaning back there when their behind is so much larger, it doesn't sound like that's the case with her. Fat necrosis, where the fat dies, is a known complication of BBL surgery, and if that fat gets infected, it could smell badly and actually drain. Now, the only people who know what happened are the patient and her surgeon, so let's give her the final word.
I got my BBL surgically removed because my sit-down one was stinking real bad. BBL stink, do you hear me? And it's not coming from the vagina or the beehole. It's coming from the incisions that they cut to inject the fluid and the fat in your butt, okay? There's people in the comments saying, oh, you wasn't washing up right. Come on, let's be real. It's coming out of the incision. It fucking stink. I don't care what y'all say. It stink. And if it's not healing properly and your body is rejecting it, the hole will remain open and the drainage will continue to come out and stink up your linen, stink up your underwear, stink up everything, okay?
If you're cleaning regularly and healing properly, your BBL should not stink. But if you have a complication like it sounds like she did, then I guess it could.
BBLs be smelling. I just got tagged in a video of a guy doing a story time saying that he was about to mess around with this girl. She gets on the bed and proceeds to twerk, and then twerk wind come in his face and it stinks. And he blames this on the fact that she got a BBL instead of the fact that he was messing with a woman who got poor hygiene. Like, I need you to be so serious as a grown man. Like, how you gonna really sit up here and blame that on the BBL instead of the woman having poor hygiene? Right? I don't know if this was for clickbait, but the lengths that y'all will go sometimes with the BBL conversation is a little outrageous, right? I done said my piece on it before, but I would never go as drastic as to co-sign silly stuff like this. Like, be so for real. If a woman don't know how to properly clean, it don't matter whether or not the body's natural or whether or not a surgeon performed it and gave it to her. If she don't know how to properly clean herself, that's the end of the story. And it's saying a lot that you proceeded to go ahead and smash a girl who don't know how to properly clean herself, right? You can sit up here and cap and act as if, you know, the BBL had anything to do with her poor hygiene, but the truth of the matter is you're a nasty man, right? Because you still slept with her regardless of you made her go take the shower, whatever you claim you did. I doubt you did that, if the story even real or not, all right? Because I don't realize this dude be saying a lot of wild stuff. And he don't even give me dude who really pull girls like that, right? Unless he got money, and I don't even know if he do. I'm not getting that he gets girls like that. The stuff he say online be way too outrageous. A dude who get girls would never get online and say something this goofy like girls who got BBLs be smelling a certain kind of way. Because dudes who get girls have messed with enough women to know that any of them can have poor hygiene and it doesn't matter. But a dude who don't get girls like that will say something silly like this.
If it's like poor post-op care, just like getting your boobs done, I'm pretty sure if your breast incision was infected, it will stink and it will smell bad. But people in general are just trying to say girls with BBLs naturally just smell bad. Like, it's been a thing. Before she even came on this platform and said that her BBL stinked, a bunch of people just say BBLs smell. I'm like, babes, I think anybody can smell. BBL or not. I don't think body odor discriminate if your ass is real or not. So this makes more sense.
Now, when we hear the word complications, most people immediately think of something going wrong during surgery. But the truth is, complications can begin long before that. As we've just seen from those clips, for many people, the journey starts with social pressure and online judgment. The moment someone shares that they're getting a BBL or even posts their results, complete strangers suddenly feel entitled to comment on their body, criticize their decision, or compare them to unrealistic beauty standards. That alone can take a huge emotional toll. Then there's the recovery itself. Many people have described the pain as some of the worst they've ever experienced. The sleepless nights, limited mobility, wearing compression garments 24/7, and the emotional ups and downs during healing can leave people questioning whether they made the right decision. But perhaps one of the biggest issues isn't the procedure itself. It's where people choose to have it done. Cosmetic surgery has become increasingly competitive, and with that has come the rise of clinics offering unbelievably cheap BBL packages. While not every affordable clinic is unsafe, an extremely low price should always raise questions. In some tragic cases, people have been treated by unqualified practitioners or in facilities that failed to meet appropriate safety standards. That's why doing your research isn't just recommended, it's essential. Look for a properly qualified board-certified surgeon where that's applicable. Ask questions, review their experience, and don't let price be the only factor in your decision. A cheaper operation can end up costing far more if your health is put at risk. And that's exactly why this conversation matters, because behind every viral before and after photo is a real person making a real decision with very real risks.
Are BBLs safe? Let's talk about it. First of all, disclaimer, I'm Dr. Sanchez. I'm a plastic surgeon in training, and I have nothing against people getting cosmetic work done, but I think education is key. So in the literature, BBLs do have the highest mortality rate within the category of aesthetic procedures. BBLs generally consist of two things. So one is liposuction. So you're sucking out a bunch of fat with a big long cannula. And then the second part is injecting that fat, usually in the buttocks or gluteal region. Now, the reason that the mortality risk is higher than it is in a lot of other aesthetic operations is because of the risk of a fat embolism. This is when some fat inadvertently enters the bloodstream and potentially travels back into the lungs, blocks blood vessels, can cause respiratory failure, even cardiovascular collapse in really bad cases. Some studies cite that this happens 1 in every 15 to 20,000 cases. I've even seen some that say up to 1 in 3,000 cases. For surgeons that do this operation, there are some safeguards, some recommendations, depending on the state, depending on where you're located, depending on your qualifications, but generally, it's recommended to only inject in the subcu tissue plane and not inject intramuscularly or where all the blood vessels are, because that increases your chances of potentially getting fat into the blood vessels. Some people even use an ultrasound when they're injecting the fat to kind of add another safeguard. I would say, as someone who's training in plastic surgery, that across the US, it's not very well regulated how this procedure is actually being done, or even the credentials of the people who are doing this procedure. There are a lot of people who are board certified plastic surgeons that are doing this procedure, and then there are a lot of people who are not. Now, obviously, every single surgery is going to have risks, but I think it's important to look at those risks, look at the data, look at the chances of that happening, look at the credentials of who you're going to, and just take all that into consideration when you're getting something done.
What's happening with the BBLs?
It's been touted as the most dangerous cosmetic surgery because there was a study many years ago that found a 1 in 3,000 mortality rate from this operation. The key with the Brazilian butt lift, though, is doctors were injecting fat into the muscle of the buttock. And the reason why they did that is because whenever you inject fat, the fat needs to get blood supply for it to heal into its new location. And so what has a lot of blood supply are muscles. And so the idea is like, oh, then I'll just inject fat into these muscles. The fat will stay, the muscles will look bigger, and now you've got a much nicer looking butt. The problem with the butt is that the butt also has some of the largest blood vessels in the body. And so if you inject fat into these muscles, the fat can enter the bloodstream. That fat, if it gets into your bloodstream, it can go to your heart and lungs, and you can die almost instantly. That is a death of BBL.
Another surgery center killing 2 more people this week. So about a year ago, I did a documentary with a YouTuber named Tommy, and he interviewed myself for the non-surgical BBL, safety-wise, and Dr. Miami, which is amazing, safety-wise. And then he tried to go interview a surgery center called Seduction. It's here in Miami. I would say it has one of the highest mortality rates in all of the United States. yet they're still open and people are still going there. So yes, they have board certified plastic surgeons, but then when you go and research these plastic surgeons, they have multiple red flags on their license. So if you have the highest mortality rate and you're researching these people on Instagram and they're still killing people out here, even with all the safety measures that we have put in place to decrease the death rate of these BBLs or rhinoplasties, and this is still happening. Again, this is why I say do your research. There's safe places, there's bad places, and there's illegal places. So this is not illegal, but it still is a bad place to go to.
Let me introduce you to Adley Silva. Unfortunately, let me also introduce you to Adley Silva. This PA decided to do surgeries on people in a medical spa at Cosmetica Plastic Surgery in St. Lucie, Florida, which is near Palm Beach, and botched multiple surgeries to gain the attention of the Florida Medical Board and have it discovered that he was operating without a medical license and is now in trial in court for fraud, racketeering, and a number of other felonies, total of 11 of them, and could face jail time up to 75 years for misrepresenting physicians. So, names matter, uniforms matter, credentials matter, and your choice of a board-certified plastic surgeon matters. Please check the American Board of Plastic Surgery website before you have any surgical procedure. It's not like going to the salon. It should be done carefully and by someone who has your best interest in mind and is not just trying to get to your pocketbook.
If you do anything and you go get any cosmetic surgery in Miami, don't go to Vixen. Okay? Don't go to Vixen. People was trying to warn me about Vixen, and I kept playing around, and I went to Vixen, and I got my body done. My doctor was y'all favorite doctor, Cannon. Went with him. He did what he had to do. But then the aftercare, it's like you see your doctor only once or twice. That's it. After that, they leave you for dead. Girl, let me tell y'all, I had a nasty, like, skin infection on my leg. And I'm trying to get to him. I cannot get to him. Them nurses want to be the doctors so bad, y'all. They want to be the doctors so bad. I was left unseen for 9 days. Okay? 9 days. I had to go to the ER. Get antibiotics. I was in pain. Like, I was going through it. I will never go there again. Like, they make me never want to get cosmetic surgery again. And y'all favorite Dr. Cannon? Yeah, bullshit. Let me tell y'all, after all that went down in that office, he turns around and make it seem like he washed his hands with you. Like, he don't have nothing to do with anything anymore. Like, he acts like he has no control over that office, no control over them nurses that's neglecting you. Then people told me that the nurse left her phone open, y'all, with my wounds showing, my skin infection showing. Every time that people text me to check up on me, 1, ain't even spelling my name right. 2, ain't even got the right information. I got to update them. I got to put the information on right for them to get it. They wait till I report a license to turn around and be like, oh, we finna see you. What's up? Come to the office. We got to see what's going on, boo. What's going on? What we need to look at? Oh, now y'all want to care, right? Let me tell y'all something. Like I said, if y'all don't want to be left for dead, do not go to Vixen Plastic Surgery. Please. Go anywhere else. Do your research. Figure it out. Whatever them people say in the comments, do not brush past it. Read it and be like, okay, let me keep that in the back of my head, because you don't know if you'll be that 1% that deals with what that comment said. And I went to this doctor because he had good recommendations. His work looked good. But the negligence and the disgust that I dealt with, I couldn't even look at this motherfucker like a human. Then this motherfucker gonna say, oh, you like money, right? What that mean? I'm so sick of them making it seem like black people could be bought. Like black people could be looked at as cash coin. This is slavery? You want to pick me up and buy me? That's what you're basically saying, right? Let me tell y'all something. Like I said, beware and be careful. I should listen to them 1% comments. What them people were saying in there. I should listen to TikTok. And then, on top of that, he did my work good. I'm not going to take that from him. He did my work very good. My stomach not as flat as I want it to be, but it's better than before. But them people is nasty. Them nurses will go back and forth with you. They will argue with you. Them people are disgusting. Please, I'm begging y'all, whatever y'all do, run from Vixen plastic surgery. If you want to live to see another day, run. Because them people right there, them people leave you for dead. Like, the nurses, they so standoffish. They don't care. Like I said, the lady done left her phone open.
324 people have required treatment back in the UK for serious complications for cosmetic surgery abroad. Guess what percentage of them came from Turkey?
40%.
100%.
How many of you need to be unalived for you to stop doing cheap surgery in Turkey? I'll wait. You don't do your research. You run in because you just take pictures of IG model and show them and say, yeah, I want to look like her. I want to look like Jada Wader. And they say, okay, yeah, we can do that. Then all of a sudden you end up unalive because you don't even know how much previous unalive cases they've had. Do your research. Stop rushing to go Turkey with a $3,000 or doing payment plans on your body. Like, seriously.
These BBLs killing y'all. And the thighs don't match. Well, 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 well. Turn to your neighbor and say, these BBLs killing y'all. Oh, yeah. And the thighs don't match.
Okay, so everybody wants to hear the how I almost died from plastic surgery in Tijuana twice story first. So here we go. I had spent one night in the hospital for recovery after my first plastic surgery, and it was a mommy makeover. So implants, tummy tuck, BBL, lipo 360. I think that was it for that round. And then me and my friend that went with me drove back over the border, boarded a plane in San Diego, flew back into Sacramento. It was only about a 45-minute flight, nothing too crazy. We were the last ones to get off just because it would take me a minute to get off. And she's pushing me out of the airplane, and I'm in a wheelchair, and all of a sudden I tell her, hey, I don't feel good. And then I passed out. So all of a sudden I wake up, and there's EMTs surrounding me, and they're checking my blood pressure, all the things, and then they transfer me to a hospital via ambulance, and I get there, they check me out, and they figure, okay, she just had all this plastic surgery, like, that's the only reason this is happening. Okay, probably, I guess, sure. So I'm there for a few hours, they send me on my way, go home, and I'm there for like 2 days, I think, and my ears are just ringing and ringing. And keep in mind, I had draining tubes coming from my tummy tuck, and I had another one coming out near my butt area from the BBL. Plastic surgery ain't pretty, guys. And so I was losing blood, and obviously it happens, that's normal. But I didn't really pay attention to how much blood I was losing. And so I finally went back to the hospital, and that's when I learned that if I didn't go in right then or pretty soon, I was really going to actually die. Part 2 coming soon. Part 2 of how I almost died from plastic surgery in Tijuana twice from the same surgery. I end up getting to the hospital for the second time now, and I tell them everything I just had done. I have draining tubes, and my ears are ringing, my head is pounding, and also Tijuana didn't give me any pain meds or anything like that. I don't know if that's normal. I figured they would have. They did while I was in the hospital with them, but not when I left. So I was struggling a little bit too, so I was like, I don't know what's normal, whatever. And it was a lot of surgery. Anyways, they come back and they're like, okay, yeah. So real quick, if you wouldn't have come in today or the next day, this is the doctor speaking to me, mind you, he's like, I don't know how much longer you would have made it because you were losing way too much blood way too fast. So my hemoglobin had dropped to 5.6. If anybody knows, a normal hemoglobin should be anywhere from like the 11 to 15 range for a grown adult. A little less for women, closer to 11, 12 range, I do believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But anyways, and so with how fast I was losing blood, he told me if I had not come in, he does not know how much longer I would have made it. So I stayed in the hospital for about 5 days. I got 2 blood transfusions, and they actually took very good care of me, and it was great. But just please be aware, if you're going to go out of the States to have surgery, that bad things can happen. I will say that was pretty much the only bad thing that did happen. Is it pretty scary? Of course, it was my life. But other than that, I did have an encapsulated breast. There was a few things that I needed fixed still. But here's where the next story comes in. If you're still interested about the Miami story, because I just went to Miami last July, that was a shit show in a whole other way. So if you want to hear that story, let me know, because that had a whole other set of complications and something that a California girly never expected. And I don't think most people would expect to be legal. So let me know.
My turn. I feel a big range of emotions, but mostly it is absolutely excitement and gratitude.
That is Rachel. She had a mommy makeover at a surgeon in her city and her state, which she felt had a very reputable reputation. Fortunately, there was a bad outcome of this mommy makeover, and Rachel did not survive. God bless her soul. Being in healthcare, I try to be very unbiased and I try to be very non-judgmental, but there are a few things that have me very questionable about this case, and I want to talk about them. And then I want to talk about things that you should always ask your plastic surgeon when you're having or consulting for plastic surgery. And first thing, in regards to Rachel's case, it was said that when her husband went back, the nurse had just given her 150 of fentanyl as well as 0.5 of Dilaudid, which is still a lot of pain medication depending on her tolerance. Per the husband, he said that she was initially talking to him a little bit when he first walked in, but then she shortly stopped talking, lost color in her face. The nurse went and grabbed Narcan, did some BVM, gave her some oxygen, but ultimately called the plastic surgeon and waited for him to call back before calling 911, in which the plastic surgeon said, call 911. Things that scare me is that this nurse was probably the only nurse in recovery, which is an issue. And again, this is a speculation based on the story. I'm unsure, but this is a part of the questions you need to always ask anybody you're consulting for plastic surgery. God forbid if your heart stopped in recovery and you're the only nurse in the facility or the only medical professional and the anesthesiologist and the physician have left, you have no way to make sure somebody's giving her oxygen, BVM, and making sure her compressions are being adequately done. You should not be the only nurse in a recovery site. That's first. I'm not saying that that happened in this case. I'm saying in general, it's an issue. Second, is your recovery site or your surgery center accredited nationally and by the state? Did you hear what I said? Is the surgery center accredited? If it's not, you don't need to have surgery there. Who will be your anesthesiologist? I think people forget that your anesthesiologist, the person that puts that tube down your throat when you have procedures and keeps your airway intact and manages your vital signs, they are more essential than your plastic surgeon, okay? And you need to know who your anesthesiologist is, and you need to know their name, and you need to look them up. You need to see if they have any active lawsuits or anything of that sort. Your anesthesiologist is so critical. It is so crucial to your recovery, okay? And your procedure in general. If they say, oh, they rotate, sometimes we have different ones, I want the names of all of them that are approved and who could be there when I am there. Bad outcomes has he had from that? And he needs to be very transparent, okay? Because if he's a good plastic surgeon, he will not take offense in this question. You need to know if they have privileges at the closest hospital. And I don't mean your small little community hospital. I mean like your level 1, level 2, level 3 hospitals, okay? We don't need some small rural hospital that you aren't going to get any resources if God forbid something was to happen. And also, to piggyback that, you need to know how far that hospital is from your surgery center. You need to be asking how many licensed, registered nurses are caring for patients in pre and post-op, okay? And what is the nurse to patient ratio? You need to ask what emergency equipment do they keep on site? Do they have a code card? Are their nurses ACLS certified? Because if they have ACLS, that is a good sign, which increases the chance of your survival. And being so that there's complications that comes with any cosmetic surgery. Do they run emergency code drills, or do they have mock code and airway distress or airway arrest codes? Do they do those drills? That is very important. And if you want to be very thorough, the FDA has a patient decision checklist that you can print out and bring with you to your appointment and your consultation. And your provider should have no issue going over this with you. I'm also going to add questions at the end of this video that you can screenshot or share or save of things that me as a nurse that I would ask when I'm going to a consulting plastic surgeon. I have also had an abdominoplasty, and my physician sat with me for over an hour. He didn't care about who was after me, who was scheduled. He sat with me. He answered every single question, okay? Don't go and save a little bit of money. Saving money is not worth your life. Make sure you check them out. Make sure you look them up on the Department of Health, and you dive deep, okay? This is serious, and nothing is ever worth your life. And I know we always think that we are untouchable and it won't happen to me, but you cannot think that way, because at the end of the day, these are very serious surgeries, okay? So I want you guys to stay safe. Again, I'm going to put a checklist in.
Yet another woman has unfortunately died from bargain shopping for plastic surgery in Mexico. A 30-year-old Los Angeles woman traveled to Mexico to get a mommy makeover for $4,000. Just for reference, the American Society of Plastic Surgery says on average a mommy makeover would cost about $20,000 or more in the United States. A mommy makeover is a broad term, so in general it can include multiple procedures, but $4,000 would typically maybe cover only one of those procedures here in the United States. Bargain shopping for plastic surgery is not a great idea, as in this case, the report showed that she had multiple ruptures of blood vessels in her chest or her thorax and multiple ruptures of her abdominal muscles. And typically something like that would come from the liposuction portion of the procedure if they were doing a tummy tuck or liposuction of the abdomen. What unfortunately can happen is with that long cannula, if it's an inexperienced doctor or surgeon, they literally can stab the internal organs to death and the patient will die. There is no reason why they would have multiple ruptured blood vessels in the chest cavity unless something like that had occurred during her surgery. I wasn't there, I'm just saying that sounds like something that may have occurred. One thing I do want to say is I did a slight little background check on the supposed surgeon that did this surgery. A lot of the information has been taken down, but I did find out that he was calling himself an aesthetic surgeon, which is kind of a counterfeit or made up term. There is no such thing really as an aesthetic surgeon. The other thing is the website was All Things Cosmetic Surgery. Again, cosmetic surgery is not a plastic surgeon. So an aesthetic surgeon or a cosmetic surgeon would be anything other than a plastic surgeon. So if it was truly a plastic surgeon doing these procedures, it would say plastic surgeon or all things plastic surgery, but it wouldn't use the terms aesthetic surgeon or cosmetic surgeon. If you're hearing those terms used by a doctor or surgeon you're thinking about going to for plastic surgery, it just means you should dig a little deeper and you should do a little bit more homework and find out what they're actually trained in, what they're actually board certified in, what is their actual experience with these procedures, and that way you can avoid what unfortunately happened to this Los Angeles woman.
Today is March 15th. Today makes 4 years that my mom, my siblings, and I lost my little sister who was only 22 years old. 4 years ago, my sister decided she wanted to go have surgery, have her body done. After giving birth to her little boy, she felt that having surgery was the answer for her to feel better about herself, even though she was so beautiful and she didn't need anything done to herself. So she went to a doctor in Matamoros, Mexico, and died at his hands. She died on the table while he was performing surgery on her. She went to have a BBL, and so many things went wrong. The reason we know is because we had an autopsy done on her body, and so many things were wrong. Not one or two, but so many more things were wrong. He messed up tremendously on her, and it cost her her life. I still talk about this 4 years later because I want women to know that it's not worth it. I wish I would have been able to talk to my sister more about it, but she didn't tell me anything. She made that decision and she kept it from her sisters because she was convinced that it's what she needed, when in reality that wasn't what she needed. People go and have surgery like this because they're seeking a happiness that they're not going to find. They're going to feel good about themselves for a moment, but they're not going to find that happiness, that genuine fulfillment that they're looking for, because only God can give that happiness and only God can give that fulfillment. But 4 years ago, we lost my baby sister who was very healthy, 22 years old. She didn't need the surgery. She didn't need it at all. But she was convinced that it was what she needed. And I talk about it because it makes me upset that there's so many women that put it out there to try to convince other women that it's what they need as well. They put it out there like it's something so simple, but it's so dangerous. So many things can go wrong. And in my sister's case, everything went wrong and she lost her life. And there's so many other women who lose their life. And so many women who came forward and said that they had the surgery and they highly regret it because they have so many complications now and because they didn't stay the same. So if you're thinking about having surgery, don't do it. BBLs, fat transfers, all that stuff, it's not worth it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. The details about my sister's surgery are very, very disturbing. But I really think that women should be informed. So I made a video, my mother and I, because she was there. So if you want to see that video, go to my YouTube channel and watch it.
It's a video that tells you everything that happens. And I want you to really think about it, because it's not something that's worth it at all, especially if you have kids and family that you will leave behind.
So there was an update today in the story about Miss Jackie, who passed away several months ago following a cosmetic procedure in Florida. So Page 6 obtained the autopsy report from Miami, and unfortunately we don't have access to the actual report, so we're just going to have to go off of the snippets that they released. And there is some additional information about the surgery she had done that was released in the autopsy report as well. So Miss Jackie underwent a BBL, or a Brazilian butt lift, on May 30th of 2023, and then she passed away on the 31st the following day. So she had surgery done. It was uneventful. She initially did well and was discharged from the surgery center. She returned and saw her plastic surgeon the following day, which is pretty standard in the world of cosmetic surgery. And she was found to be doing well. She was on 3 medications. She was on an antibiotic called Cipro, a pain medication called oxycodone, as well as a nausea medicine called Zofran. And this is a pretty standard trio of medicines to be given after cosmetic surgery. I usually don't use that antibiotic, but it's a commonly used one. Later that day, she began to have complaints surrounding her head. She had a headache, she complained of burning, she was having difficulty speaking, and eventually became unresponsive. Her caregiver called 911, but unfortunately she passed. Now, the autopsy report lists the cause of death as cerebral edema, or swelling of her brain, as well as extensive bleeding around her torso. The manner of death is accidental. Now, you can have significant bleeding with liposuction because, remember, liposuction is a blind procedure. We're making tiny incisions and removing fatty tissue through that incision. So we don't have the ability to stop bleeding like you would in surgeries that are open or have a large area that we can visualize. We do use a tumescent solution, which is a dilute numbing solution, which has epinephrine in it, which constricts blood vessels. And this does help with bleeding somewhat. We also use a medication frequently called TXA, which can also help with bleeding and bruising. But like I said, we don't have the ability to control bleeding the same way we would with a large open incision. Now, another thing to mention is that in liposuction procedures, ethical surgeons limit the amount of tissue and fluid that we remove. So we're putting large amounts of fluid in and we're removing large amounts of fluid. And in general, we like to keep this to 5 liters or less. And there's a few reasons for this. So the first reason we like to limit the amount of tissue removed is that you can have toxicity that can be fatal from one of the medications used in the tumescent solution called lidocaine. The second reason is that you can drop the blood count to dangerous levels. And this, of course, is a concern already because we can't control bleeding in the same way we do with standard surgery. And then finally, when you're infiltrating large amounts of fluid and removing large amounts of tissue and fluid and causing bleeding, you can get something called fluid shifts. And fluid shifts can lead to cardiac arrhythmias, swelling on the brain, and pulmonary edema. And this happens because you get electrolyte abnormalities that happen from the shifting fluid when you have large areas you've operated on using large amounts of fluid. So we don't actually have any information about the actual operative report. So we don't know how much tumescent fluid was used and we don't know how much lipoaspirate was removed. But there's no evidence of lidocaine toxicity from what has been released at this point. So we don't have the information about how much was removed and what actually happened in the operating room, but from what has been released, this seems like an extremely rare tragic complication from this surgery and not something that happened because of negligence or malpractice. So I think this story is another great example of not jumping to conclusions when you hear things on social media. So the conclusions that were jumped to were harmful to both her family as well as the doctor and medical team that performed this surgery. You may recall that people were flooding his reviews and giving him negative reviews with no evidence of any wrongdoing. They were speculating on what she had, what had actually happened to her. People were saying she had a ruptured aneurysm, she wasn't properly screened, all kinds of things that all frankly turned out to be false. So my heart goes out to Miss Jackie's family and her medical team. This is something that is absolutely terrifying to every surgeon because we all know that even the lowest risk of procedures can have these horrific rare complications. And that's another reason why you want the best trained surgeon taking care of you so that they can recognize and manage things when they happen.
Third BBL blood clot. In the weeks or months before August 2025, 24-year-old OnlyFans and social media creator Lena Bina underwent her third Brazilian butt lift surgery procedure. Known by the performance name Miss John Doe, Lena was originally from Houston, Texas, but lived in Polk County, Florida. She had built a following of over 195,000 across OnlyFans, Instagram, and TikTok. Following the surgery, Lena began the typical BBL aftercare and recovery process. Complications developed as a blood clot formed in her heart and neck area. On August 1st, 2025, 4 days before her death, Lena posted her final message on X. "Sorry, been ghost. I'm going through lot. The message suggested she knew something was wrong with her health. Despite any medical interventions, the blood clot caused fatal complications. On August 5, 2025, a family member found Lena dead at her Florida home. Her sister Moni confirmed to the public that, according to the family, the cause was blood clot complications in her heart and neck. Moni stated the blood clot was connected to Lena's third BBL procedure. News of her death spread through the adult entertainment community between August 6th and 8th. Her friend Coco Bliss announced the death via Instagram stories with tributes. Her cousin Miguel Santiago addressed followers about the tragedy, stating, "It's so tragic. It's so unbelievable. Keep your family close, because you don't know when's the last time you're going to see them." According to family statements, her sister Moni confirmed the cause of death was complications from a fatal blood clot in her heart and neck following her third Brazilian butt lift surgery, sparking renewed discussions about the dangers of BBL procedures, which carry significant risks, including fat embolisms that can be fatal.
People die from giving birth. People die from other sicknesses, right? So why is it when somebody dies from a cosmetic surgery, we shame them, we bully them? Why? No one has ever told anyone not to ever get pregnant again. No one. Because someone dies from a cosmetic surgery, it's a problem. There are other surgeons. There are so many surgeons. Sinosure Hospital is well known for taking the lives of young girls.
What this Elena's friend is saying is not far from the truth too. Because if you want to take a look at it, anytime someone pie from cosmetic surgery, we are always quick to point finger at them. And what if that hospital that did that surgery, what if the hospital true have been committing malpractices and nobody's holding them accountable? What if a lot of girls have been buying in that particular clinic? Probably maybe we should look into this case. And if truly it's the fault of the clinic, I think that it's not bad if they are being held accountable for it, and it's not also bad if we get justice for the girl, because after all, she's a human.
Sister's mouth and gave my sister the pills, and I just remember my sister going to sleep. My sister never woke up. I woke up from my nap. My sister was in the same position she was in for the whole day.
The girls appeared to have the options to pay more and get aftercare directly connected to the office where they had the surgery, but decided to save some money and went to a person who was allegedly not even qualified. Not picking up Scar's prescription, allegedly, and then allegedly giving her pills that were not prescribed to her is definitely a no-no. However, the family will not have the full answers as to what really caused her passing until the autopsy report comes back. I am truly glad that her sister was able to get moved and get post-op care from someone trusted, and I can't even imagine her pain, not only physically but mentally, having to see her sister pass away. This is a very tough time for this family, and her mother shared this online. My daughter, Monique, has passed away. She was my firstborn, my ladybug, my whole life. Please allow me the time to process this loss and begin to heal. Monique was also known as 619 Star and was a talented female rapper. She had been featured in many songs and collaborated with some of the best male rappers and producers out of San Diego. Monique Miller, aka Big Scar, May 11, 1996 to March 7, 2025. 28 years of shining like a star. Rest peacefully, my baby girl. Monique had just been a mother for only 1 year, and now that baby has lost her mother who cared for her so much. Any surgery is risky, but when it is elective and you lose your life, it is a hard pill to swallow. At only 28, she was really making moves to provide herself and her daughter financial security. And now, the talented songwriter, artist, and entrepreneur is forever young. Her life mattered, and she will be missed by all who loved her. Let me know your thoughts on elective surgeries in the comments. Also, please don't forget to comment your thoughts and prayers for this family in their difficult time, and hit that like button and share to make your people aware. And as always, remember to stay woke. Things change quickly.
Breaking news, a TikTok mom has died after complications from a tummy tuck at age 47. TikTok creator Rachel Tussey, a 47-year-old mother of 3, has tragically died following complications from a tummy tuck procedure.
If you haven't heard the story yet, unfortunately, it is heartbreaking. A 47-year-old mom went in for a tummy tuck and suffered a devastating complication after surgery. Rachel Tussey had been documenting her cosmetic surgery journey online. According to reports from her family, she experienced a severe complication that led to prolonged prolonged oxygen deprivation to the brain, resulting in a catastrophic anoxic brain injury. She was placed on life support, later transitioned to hospice care, and her family ultimately made the difficult decision to withdraw life support. The procedure she underwent is called an abdominoplasty or tummy tuck. It removes excess abdominal skin and tightens the abdominal wall. While it's commonly performed and generally considered safe, medically, it is still a major surgery. Complications can include bleeding, infection, wound healing problems, fluid collections, and even blood clots. Rare but serious events can also occur during or after anesthesia, including cardiopulmonary complications. Most people undergo cosmetic surgery without life-threatening complications, but stories like this are a reminder that even elective procedures still carry real medical risks, which is why understanding those risks and having proper monitoring after surgery does matter.
Another day, another dollar, another unalivement. It really boggles my mind how Miami, after all these years, still keeps doing the same thing. This particular practice has been on my no-go list since 2023. They changed their name to the name they have now, but the one they had before, it tied to so many unalivements, lawsuits, it's crazy. The part that breaks my heart is that people, and women especially, and men too, there's a man and a woman in this, they still are looking at what can I get the cheapest price. When we are talking about your body, about your life, about going back to your family, about going back to your loved one, I get it. You need to be within your budget, but that doesn't mean that you cut costs on your life, on your body. Yes, there is a gratifying external thing that comes with plastic surgery, but it is still a major surgery. You still need to be prepared. You still need to recover well, and you need to have a provider that truly cares about you and doesn't look at you as another number. Because I'm telling you, these practices, they do. On Instagram, I saw the same practice was celebrating 60,000 procedures. 60,000 procedures. These are only 2 of the ones that you know about that did not make it back home. There's many more, and on top of that, there's even more who felt like they just were seen and left. Seen and left. Seen as a patient in pre-consult, never even got to meet their doctor, not even sure if that's the one who did surgery on them, and left. Went back home, went back to their Airbnb, went back to their scammy recovery home that no one checked out, and some of them didn't make it home at all. This is the reality, and this is something that we need to pay attention to, and we need to start caring about, especially if we're considering plastic surgery, if our loved ones are considering plastic surgery. Do your due diligence, or hire a company to do diligence for you. One that cares about you, not one that gets paid by these practices, but one that cares about you.
Story time of how a client forgot to tell me that she was unalived after having surgery in Mexico. Part 1. So this was early in my entrepreneurial business journey. Everybody knows that phase, right? You want all the clients. It don't matter who comes to you. You want them. Give me here. I need the money. I need the money. I need the money. I need the growth. All right. So this was a weekend. Let's say it was a Friday. I was actually at home doing some back office work. I get a text message from someone saying they want to book a service. I'm like, yippee, come on, let's go. So I say, well, tell me a little bit about what's going on. You know, what surgery did you have? Y'all know I always start off with that. So she tells me she just had a lipo and BBL and arm lipo, and she is ready to start her massages. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm doing what I do, you know, texting the regular info, trying to set up a date, trying to set up a time. I'm actually trying to see her today because I'm trying to grow my business. While I'm in the midst of texting her, I get a text message back saying she's in a hospital right now. I hope that's not a problem. Excuse me? So when she said she, I'm like, so the patient or the client is not even texting me. It's somebody else. So I'm like, okay. And then before I could even ask my next question, saying I was about to ask, what is she in the hospital for? The response comes again, the message comes through, and she goes, complications unrelated to surgery. First of all, you can't tell me that. I don't think she realized I was a nurse, not alone a nurse, but an ER nurse. Anytime you're going to have to the hospital after having a cosmetic surgery is definitely related to the surgery. But I go for it. I got time. Okay, so tell me what's going on. She goes, well, her potassium is really high. I said, her potassium is really high. Well, what is her potassium level? She tells me it's an 8. What does that mean, nurses? What does that mean, nurses? When it comes to critical care and prioritizing who's serious and who's not. Let me tell you. So if somebody's potassium is greater than a 6, they're going to be in what ICU. Not just a regular medical floor, but an intensive care unit. So now I'm like, how in the world is your potassium a 8 and you're telling me that it's complications unrelated to surgery and you're trying to make it seem like it's not serious? So I said, bump the text and I'm finna call this girl. I'm finna call whoever I'm talking to. So I'm like, hey, I said, first off, who am I talking to? And she goes, well, I'm her cousin, but I'm here with her. I'm like, okay, cool. So tell me what's going on. She's like, well, she had a high potassium and an elevated sodium. And I was like, yeah, so she's in ICU. I cut her off. She was like, yeah, she is. And she was like, but I talked to the charge nurse on the floor and she said it was okay for you to come up here and do her massages. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I'm hungry, but I ain't starving. Like, I'm not about to risk my life, my license, and my livelihood to come and touch on her up there. I had to explain to her, hey, just because I'm a nurse, I can't just bop up at anybody's facility and start doing services. There has to be an arrangement. There has to be a contractual agreement. I said, if she's in the hospital and it's fairly quickly after surgery, then that means she probably needs to stay there. It's in her best interest. I'm always medical first. We will deal with the after come or the after later, meaning the massages. That is not as important as your lab work being out of whack or you having a major complication. So I pretty much told the family member, listen, I'm willing to see her, but let's make sure she's actually medically cleared. Meaning, let's make sure that everything is okay for her to be discharged. I said, as soon as she's discharged from the hospital, then, I'll come and check on her. I'll do a nurse assessment, and then we'll move forward to see if it's in our best interest for me to massage her. She goes, okay. She thanked me. She was like, I understand that. That's no problem. Okay. All right. I'll let you know. I said, all right. So I hang up the phone and I'm like, oh my God, like she's in the ICU. Something is wrong. Something is serious wrong. I was apprehensive, but yet curious because I'm an ER nurse. So I'm just like, tell me more. So thinking that's over with, it's going to be a couple of days. The very next day, not even 24 hours later, the cousin texts me early in the morning. She's been discharged. Can you come see her today? I'm thinking in my mind, you was just in ICU yesterday and you said your potassium was 8. I know you're not ready enough to be discharged. So this is fairly weird to me and what a coincidence that I said the only way I can see you and start your massages is if you are discharged. So I'm like, okay, against my better judgment, I was like, all right, I'll come see her. Y'all will not believe what I went into, what I was told. So you're going to have to stay tuned for part 2 for the rest of this story. Story time of how a client forgot to tell me she was unalived after having surgery in Mexico, part 2. So y'all know when we left off, I was speaking to a family member who said the client was in the hospital, wanted massages, and had complications unrelated to surgery. However, we know that's not the case. So she said her potassium was 8, which means she was in ICU. Potassium is very important electrolyte in your body because it works on the contractility of the heart. Fun fact, when somebody is on death row and they're getting a lethal injection, a very, very high dose of potassium is one of the things that they use to. All right. So I'm like, all right, okay, you got to get this handled before I can see you. So you got to be medically cleared and discharged. What a coincidence. The very next day she says she's discharged. Can you come see her? I go over there and she does not look good. And I don't mean that in a sense of her body's messed up. She just physically does not look well. And so, I'm trying to be nice and get a better understanding. I definitely want to help her. And again, I'm new, at this. And I'm an ER nurse. So I'm like, okay, there's nothing I can handle, right? So I have her fill out the consent forms. And I'm like, so tell me about, like, what led you to be in the hospital. What happened? She goes, well, I had surgery. I had a lipo and BBL, and I got my teeth done in Tijuana, red flag number one. And on the way back, I missed my dialysis. Y'all do know this is what a medical clearance for in the United States, right? Like you have to get the lab work, the EKG, and the urine for a reason to make sure that you are physically fit and healthy and strong enough to have an elective cosmetic procedure. Okay. So a lot of times when people go out of the country, this is why, because they don't do as much as we do in the US as far as follow through to make sure that this is healthy for you to do. And I'm like, you missed dialysis? I was like, how did you even get cleared? Not in my head. I'm like, this doesn't even make sense. She's like, oh, well, they don't do all that over there. I'm like, oh, okay. So she continues to get undressed and I'm setting up and she just is in more pain than what I would expect to see somebody. Like, it's okay to be achy, but I mean every little move, like she was about to pass out. And I'm like, so I was like, the surgery, it's really hurting you pretty bad, huh? And she goes, yeah. And then she kind of thinks and she goes, well, they had to do CPR on me. So you mean to tell me you were in ICU, died, and left just so you can get a massage? I said, what do you mean they had to do CPR on you? She goes, yeah, my heart stopped when they tried to do my dialysis when I got back. And she's like, it stopped twice. I said, so you went into cardiac arrest twice? She was like, yeah, I did. But they got me back though. And then eventually I was able to finish my dialysis. Y'all, her whole chest was black and blue up here. Like, I mean, and it looked caved in. I could tell that had been done. So now I'm thinking in my head, what else is wrong with you? Because I mean, your couple of ribs are broken. You might have trouble breathing afterwards. And I'm just like, how did you get cleared for the surgery? Like that still was in my head. And then she wants a massage. And then the other thing that clicked in my head was, do you pee? So I interrupt her. I forgot what we was talking about at this point. I'm like, do you still pee? She goes, no. So where's the fluid going? If I'm massaging you and the purpose is what? To move the fluid back into the lymphatic system so you can urinate it out and it can excrete the normal way. Well, if you don't have that follow through output, for me to even allow that to happen, then what's going to happen? I can massage it all the way up to your heart and it gets stuck and then your heart stops again. Like I got all this stuff going in my head and she had these drains, but y'all, when I say it was pure blood coming out of her drains, pure blood coming out of her drains. I could not believe I was up in this lady's house. I'm like, she gonna die right here today. Excuse me, Lord. And what am I gonna do? What am I going to do? I looked at her, I was like, listen, I'm not gonna massage you. I'm going to kind of do like a nurse assessment, try to get you a little bit more comfortable. Everything was swollen from wherever you could think of. She was swollen from head to toe. And I told her, I was like, listen, you're going to have to let your doctors know, because of course she didn't tell her doctors over here the dumb ish that she did. I said, you're going to have to let them know that you went out of the country to have surgery and you need this fluid taken off of you, because now the only way that can be done is if you give dialysis. I was like, what I could do is not going to help you. I said, I could possibly make the situation worse. I need you to love yourself enough to know that this is not enough. Like that's when I say she wanted to throw all type of money. She was throwing bands at me. Or what if I pay you this? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, ma'am, that's not worth my license. It's not worth your life. It's not worth me getting you right to look good in a casket. Like, this is crazy. So, in any event, what I had to do was pretty much just discontinue any type of communication or service from her. I'm like, you're not letting me know what's going on, but understand, like, it's not safe for me to touch you. She reached out to her nephrologist and they were able to pull, she said, 20 pounds of fluid off. And she was trying to know when we could get back started again. But I've pretty much told her that, like, I will never, ever, ever touch you again, because you really had me messed up and you really played with your life. And I should have never been over there in the first place. So my lesson learned is all money ain't good money. It don't matter how far fast you want to grow. You still need to use your brain and think and keep the foundation integrity of your business. And speaking of that, surgery world is very small, especially for providers in the area. So it was brought to my attention some time past that same client went to somebody else and gave us the same type of story. But in the end, she said that I left her destitute and that I did not care about her at all, and I left her without any way to be taken care of. Left out all the fact that you lied, you didn't tell me the truth, you shouldn't have had the surgery in the first place, and you worried about the wrong thing. So that is my story, and I hope that you guys can learn something from this. Medical clearance is for a reason. Okay, it's not to harm you, not to hurt you, not to make it so that you can't have the surgery. Honestly, if you're not cleared, then take it as a blessing. Like, nothing is worth your life. This is coming from somebody who does this. Getting surgery is not worth you being unalived. And I'm going to always stand for you being healthy and safe first. Rest in peace to the New York City police officer that died in Colombia a week after she got her BBL surgery. Now, guys, this is not the first time we've heard of somebody passing away after their surgery. She did pass away from a cardiac arrest. Alicia Stone is her name, and she was 40 years old. She was a mother of 3, and she was married. Her husband says that he spoke with her, several times throughout this time. He even spoke to her the day before, and she said she was feeling well. She was taking her antibiotics and whatever else medicine that they gave her, and she was discovered unconscious in her hotel room. Crazy. Now, I don't know if she was out there alone, but I definitely know that her husband wasn't there. And I guess he was just checking in on her every so often. But it's like, why would you let your wife go out there alone? Because they're not saying that anybody was with her. And the husband got a phone call from the doctor to let him know that his wife passed away. It's unfortunate. It's just like, be careful, y'all, when y'all get these surgeries. You just never know. She was older in age, so I'm sure that kind of complicates things. But yeah, just be careful when we get these surgeries. Like, I know you want the body to be T all your life. I get it, but things could go real left real quick.
A family searching for answers after a 26-year-old mother died following a popular cosmetic procedure.
As NBC6 investigator Miriam Masihi learned, Janisha Williams never woke up from the anesthesia. Now the state is taking action against the surgery center and the doctor in charge.
Janisha Williams was a photographer, a wife, mother to 2 young children, and her sister's best friend.
She was very caring and I always knew what to say.
On October 20th of last year, the 26-year-old, known to most people as Jayla, traveled from Hillsborough County, Florida to Best You Now Cosmetic Surgery Center in Plantation for a breast augmentation and a Brazilian butt lift, or BBL. Her mother flew from California to be by her side.
I was asking every hour, how's my daughter doing? How things going? And they kept telling me, she's okay, everything is fine.
But Latasha says she started worrying when all the other patients were discharged and Jayla wouldn't come out. Then she heard a siren.
The ambulance pulled up. That's when I said, excuse me, can somebody tell me what's going on?
According to the medical examiner, at around 8 p.m., the procedure was completed, but Jayla never awoke from the anesthesia. Latasha says the doctor and nurses approached her as her daughter was being transported next door to Plantation General Hospital.
They politely grabbed me and said, your daughter is dead.
While the medical examiner's report lists the cause of death as undetermined, the health department has filed administrative complaints against the surgery center licensed as Serenity Capital Investments, LLC, the Best You Now, and Dr. John Edward Nees, the designated physician for the surgery center, claiming they allowed a doctor who was not a qualified anesthesia provider to sedate Jayla.
In Medicare regulations, physicians are allowed to give anesthesia, but in practice, that does not happen.
And in Florida, the standard of care rules require surgeons use a qualified anesthesia provider, like an anesthesiologist or a certified registered nurse anesthetist, to administer anesthesia. In Jayla's case, Dr. Millicent Muir, an OBGYN who is restricted from practicing that specialty for an unrelated complaint, administered the anesthesia. While the center has several anesthesia providers on record, she is not one of them. Instead, she is listed as recovery personnel. But according to the state's complaint, she was employed to provide anesthesia for patients. The day we went to the Best You Now, Dr. Muir was locking up the place and said she didn't want to go on camera, but told me she had taken some courses in anesthesiology.
Anesthesiology is a recognized medical specialty.
Though he can't speak on Jayla's case, the president of the American Society of Anesthesiologists says the training is rigorous.
To become an anesthesiologist, you would do 4 years of undergraduate school, then you would do 4 years of medical school like all other specialists. And then after the 4 years of medical school, there is another 4-year period of residency training.
In their complaint, the Department of Health is asking the center's registration be suspended or revoked and that Dr. Nees also be penalized. Jayla's family says nobody from the center has reached out to them as they mourn her loss and try to console her 5- and 2-year-old children.
It's hard, ma'am. It's hard. They ask, can they go to heaven to see their mom? They don't understand.
So there's a tragic story of a 28-year-old woman who died while having liposuction. She was a mother. And in and of itself, that's incredibly tragic to go in for an elective surgery, something as simple as liposuction, and die. But what makes the situation incredibly egregious is the doctor was a pediatrician. That's right, a pediatrician. And if you're asking yourself, how's that possible? Then you need to go look at my 100 other posts that I've done over the last 15, 20 years. There is a huge misunderstanding and continues to be, despite all the information that's out there, between plastic surgeons and cosmetic surgeons. So a plastic surgeon is someone who goes to plastic surgery residency. A cosmetic surgeon is someone that goes to any residency, OBGYN, internal medicine, emergency room physician, orthopedics, and then goes and gets cosmetic training from a weekend course to 1 year to whatever, and then goes and practices that cosmetic surgery, as in the case of this pediatrician. Who's regulating this? No one. When you're in your own private practice, in my surgery center, I am the medical director. Therefore, I determine who does what in my own facility. So in and across this country, cosmetic surgeons of God knows what type of training are doing thousands and thousands of procedures to patients unbeknownst to them. The onus falls on you. You need to do your homework.
I'm just now hearing about a woman who got 3 BBLs and then passed away like a week after the 3rd one. And let me just say, rest in peace to her, and my condolences are out to the family. But I gotta ask, and this is with all due respect, when is enough enough? I'm not even laughing, I'm not joking, I'm not playing. This is a serious matter. Is 3 BBLs not crazy? 3 separate BBL procedures, like there were 2 after the first one, like a BBL cinematic universe. Because you gotta understand how wild it really is. It's not like becoming a butt doctor is a popular medical practice. There aren't a whole lot of reputable BBL surgeons in the world. So already it's inconvenient to even start and get the first procedure done. And this is while keeping in mind, right, that your operation's either gonna be done by a reputable doctor for an expensive operation or a cheaper operation in the alleyway of some slums where they're taking a meat cleaver to your shit. And they're putting some special BBL fluid they created from who knows what, and they're putting it in stitched up kangaroo pouches that they're throwing in your ass cheeks. And that's the risk you take with one procedure. But that's just it. Most people only get one. 3 separate times, you may as well have just injected yourself with compound V and flipped a coin. But look, that all aside, I guess what I'm really trying to say right now is to love yourself. Because nobody on earth is ugly enough to feel the need to be mutilating themselves so they can become prettier.
If you are considering getting on a flight to go to another country to get a BBL or breast implants or a mommy makeover, please cancel it. Please cancel the flight, reconsider, throw it in the trash, forget about it. Consider another alternative. If you want to go to another country, whatever the country may be, to get a surgery that you cannot afford in your current country of residence, cancel it. I'm saying this as a medical doctor. I am not a surgeon. I'm an internal medicine hospitalist. I am not incentivized to persuade or dissuade you from getting any kind of surgical procedure. But what I deal with on the hospital side is when your account is paid off and closed, okay? The surgery has been completed. You have been released from the post-operative side. I see you when stuff goes wrong in the hospital, okay? When your breast refuses to close and heal, you have MRSA, you have a hole in your bowels, they're leaking into your peritoneum, you're septic, you can't eat anything, you have to be fed through your veins. That's what I deal with. And I'm starting to see it more and more and more. I get it. The societal pressures to look good are heavy right now. But you have to consider the fact that every decision that you make may impact your life in a large way. I'm seeing 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, lives changed forever because they decided to proceed with a surgery without fully knowing the implications. And I'm not saying the standard of care in any other country is lesser than what you can receive here, but I will say that if there is a communication barrier, if you are not able to vet this clinic, vet this physician, if you are not able to get proper follow-up, if you're overall not financially prepared to put yourself through this type of surgical procedure, let it go. It may seem like it's cheaper and you're saving money by going this route, but you will spend more in the long run when you are fighting every wrong outcome that you have to deal with. Right now, we're dealing with an outbreak. There's a surgical center, I don't know if you've seen it in the news, where we're having a whole bunch of fungal meningitis from the epidurals that they were doing in Mexico for these BBLs. Young people. I think 2 or 3 people have been pronounced dead from the situation. But these are cosmetic procedures that are not. Please reconsider. That's all I have to say.
At the end of the day, this video isn't about telling people what they should or shouldn't do with their bodies. It's about making sure that if you do choose to have a BBL, you're making that decision with your eyes wide open. Throughout this video, we've seen that complications don't just mean what happens inside the operating room. They can start with the pressure to fit into today's beauty standards, the judgment that comes from strangers online, and the emotional impact of putting yourself out there. They can continue through an incredibly painful recovery process that many people don't talk about, where some even question whether they made the right decision. And in the most devastating cases, complications can lead to life-changing injuries or even the loss of life. We've also seen how important it is to do your research. Choosing an experienced, appropriately qualified surgeon and a reputable clinic isn't something that should ever be rushed or based on price alone. While cost can be a factor, your safety should always come first. Social media often shows us the before and the after, but what we rarely see is everything in between. The pain, the swelling, the emotional roller coaster, the uncertainty, and the months of recovery that many people go through to achieve those final results. That part of the story deserves to be talked about just as much as the transformation itself. If there's one thing I hope you take away from this video, it's this. Before making a decision about any cosmetic procedure, take the time to understand the risks, ask the hard questions, and make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. An informed decision is always a better decision. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might benefit from it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.